right, here it is. It is Fire Convoy, Optimus Grid, Optimus Prime, whatever you want to call him, Omega Prime, Super God Fire Convoy, Super Fire Convoy, whatever you want to call him. Omega Prime, Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Super Optimus, and Omega Prime are what we're looking at here in America as part of this Haslab. We're going to have a lot to talk about. This is probably going to be one of my longer videos because there's a lot to talk about in this one. Right off the bat, before we get into any of the actual toy itself, I want to address the big old elephant in the room here that has propped up in the last few days since these started shipping. And that is, I've seen several of these from different people, including people I know, show up with the AB section on Optimus Prime's core robot cracked. That is, mine was okay. I can only review the toy as it was sent to me. But that's not cool. That we shouldn't have to be dealing with that on something like this. Like, if it were a couple of instances here and there, sometimes there are quality issues. Sometimes, whenever you mass produce a toy, there's going to be some that slip out that aren't perfect. But I'm seeing a lot of cracking on these things and a lot of internal damage. Mine had one of the small fins inside. And if you've been following the thread, you know what I'm talking about. If not, I am going to put a link to some of this stuff down in the video description. But one of my small little tabs had bent slightly inside of it when I got it. And that was the only damage mine had. So I did the fix. There's a fix for it, again, down there in the video description. Check it out. But that's not cool. And I've known people who are getting these cracked out of the box. And that's really disappointing because they did a lot of good stuff on this figure. And we shouldn't have to wait a year and a half for these things. I guess in this case, it was a little over a year. And then have it show up defective in a way that, like, some people have had theirs crack on the first transformation, which also not cool. But some of these are opening up with big cracks in the abdomen right off the bat. And I can't, like I said, I'm happy with my version of the figure. It's a fun figure. It sucks for everybody who gets a broken one. Hopefully Hasbro will make this right. We haven't heard any official statement from Hasbro. These just started showing up within the last few days as of the time of this video being shot. But yeah, right off the bat, just kind of address it. I'll talk through a fix. There is a fix if you get yours and it isn't damaged. There is a very simple, it took me 15 minutes tops. I had a screwdriver and some sandpaper ready to go. That seems to alleviate the issue. I haven't had any problems with mine so far. And 100% agree, we should not have to be doing this on figures that have just showed up brand new that we paid a lot of money for. It's not acceptable. But if yours doesn't show up cracked, there is a very simple, it is not difficult fix. Again, the link is is down in the description. But if you're willing to do it, so far it seems to be the cause of the issue and fixing the problem. And so there's at least that. Shouldn't have to be done, but it's not the end of the world. There is a fix at least. It's not like an inevitability. But yeah, I just want to get that right off the bat. There are some issues with this. I hope if you're still waiting on yours, that yours arrives safe and sound. Maybe it's just a batch issue. We don't know all the details yet. But I'm seeing a lot of these show up cracked. It's not cool at all. And I'm so sorry for everybody who has to get one and deal with that. You shouldn't have to. Anyway, that said, that's my caveat. Mine was not cracked. I am going to try to review it here for you to show it off because, like I said, that's why it's so disappointing, because it really is a fun figure overall. But anyway, here's Prime. He is sitting on the space bridge stands. This is two of them connected together. You can put him or Magnus. I'll go ahead and put Magnus on here real quick just to show them off on the space bridge. But yeah, it's just a little display thing, but it's basically two stands if you want to have them. Now, I will say you don't really need the stands for these guys. Both of them in both their combined modes, their regular modes, and even in the combined God Convoy mode, Omega Prime, super solid. It is so nice to have an Omega Prime that I can just pick up, move room to room, set it down, and I can walk out and not worry about it falling over. My original, and again, it wasn't as bad when I first got it, but I mean, it was always a little floppy. It was always a little top heavy. The ratchets were not quite strong enough to support it. It always had a tendency to topple over, and it's gotten worse with age. So to have a version of this that stands properly without stands is nice. But you do get some stands here. They do separate. These panels right here are separate pieces. These small little ramps on either end. They just plug in here to the two holes. They can go to get, because this is basically the same piece. Then there's a couple connector pieces there that hold these together. You can separate them for the individual robots. You can also, if you want, and probably what I'll do, if you just have God Convoy on a stand and you just don't want a flat back, you can actually put a ramp on both ends and just have it like that and store that extra little ramp piece. Up to you. If you want to have this sit flat against the back of your shelf, when you've got Omega Prime on there, and I'm going to say God Convoy and Omega Prime interchangeably in this, you can do that as well. You'll have the individual pieces there, but there's just little connector pieces that hold those together. And these all come packaged. I think maybe one of the ramps had one. No, they both came separate. These pieces came separately in the box, and then the ramps and the bases and the small little ramps were also separate in both the levels of the thing. But there's the space bridge. It's a little stand. We'll bring it back out for Magnus when we bring him out. But that's that. You also get, right off the bat, a couple of, there's two of them in here, but basically once you unfold them, like small throw rug sized instruction manuals. They're pretty cohesive. There's a few places on Ultra Magnus especially where I'm like, I can't quite see what's happening there, but it's intuitive enough that you're able to figure it out. But there's a couple places I wish were a little bit more clear on Ultra Magnus specifically. And then on to Optimus Prime. Here he is in fire truck mode. Very similar to his original self. He does come... let's talk about this little guy first, the smallest dude in this set. You do get a little Titan Master Cerebros. He can sit here in the seat on Optimus Prime here in his fire truck mode. You can also, where did I put him? You can, if you want to pop him on, if you have Fort Max or any of the repeats, you can pop him on as a Titan Master. There you go. If you want to put him on there, you can. They haven't done a Brave Max release of. They did a not Grand Titan. Grand Maximus. They did a Grand Maximus repaint, but they did not do a Brave Maximus repaint. But you get the little Cerebro. Do you need to use him? No. But he's fun. He's just a little dude. He sits there in the bucket. There's some little tap posts in there to plug his feet into, so he stays there. But yeah. I stuck him in there as soon as I got him, and I've transformed this thing through all the modes and just left him in there, and he hasn't fallen out. So you can do that if you want. But just FYI, you get him. Quick comparison with his original version here. You can see a little bigger overall, bluer windows, although some of that may just be yellowing with age. But you're looking at basically the same profile here. This is a lot more solid at its core. You can see here there was a big open empty area underneath here and all this stuff and everything kind of friction tabbed together and held fairly securely, but it does, it kind of bends. I wouldn't want to lift it up like that. This one, you can see there's some panels here that cover in and fold in and fill out a lot more of that underside. And also, like this one, I'll just pick it up by that ladder. You can see the ratchets moving on the ladder before that thing comes apart. They really made a lot of the connections between the cab and the rest of the fire truck very secure on this one, which is nice. Transformation is very similar on both him and Magnus, with just a few little differences that don't just start pulling it apart like you did on the original, because there's a few little tabs that could get sheared off or damaged if you just try to do it the way the original one did. All improvements. Like I said, it holds together much more solidly, but yeah, there's a few little differences in how those transform. But yeah, there's no lights or sounds. There's no button here to push. There still is a little molded piece there. Some people complain about the lights coming off. Mine does a little bit because it's just a little friction tab. I don't know if some people say, put some polish on there to tighten that up. I don't know if that's really the issue. It seems like making that tighter would cause it to push up more. It's a minor concern. I feel like maybe they could have made these a little thicker and had that post be a little deeper because you're just sitting on a post. But for the most part, as long as I remember not to like pull up when I rotate it and just kind of rotate it there from the hinge, haven't had any issues with it coming loose. But yeah, the ladder ratchets and rotates on nice detents. You can flip out these little nozzles, which are also on ball joints, which is kind of cool. They weren't on ball joints before. They don't spring out. There's no spring-activated gimmicks or anything like that on these versions. The missiles don't automatically pop open and fire when you're trying to transform it, which is nice. The spring gimmick was cool, but it's just not present here. These antenna, any other shiny chrome pieces comes packaged separately. You got to peg them on. They can also pop off if you're wiggling them around while transforming because they're not pinned or screwed in. But better that than having them snap or break. The missiles do, however, flip out just like before. And you can actually pull them out of here. You can actually launch the missiles. And these are 5mm compatible. Somebody on TFW was posting earlier today that you can put a blast effect in there and put the missile in the blast effect. I don't have a blast effect right here to... Do I? Hold on. Maybe I do. Let me see if I've got a blast effect here to show this off. I don't... Oh, no. Maybe one of these will work. Well, that's... No. That one is too big. Maybe this one will work. Here we go. Here's a little blast effect. Let's see if we can show this off and get this to work here real quick. Yeah, there we go. Just plug that into the missile launcher. Plug the missile into the middle of that. Yeah, so you can make it look like it's launching. That's kind of cool. Well, I just realized that even just this by himself is going up off camera here. And my tripod's being wibbly, so apologies for that. But yeah, so you can flip out all the missile launchers. They can all come out. You can use some blast effects on them. And they just all fold back down. The ladder does extend, although, there we go. So you can extend the ladder, both in this and the base mode. And it holds pretty well. So yeah, let me put this blast effect back real quick. And we'll get on with, let's actually get to the transformation here because, like I said, it's a little different, but still very cool. So the first thing you do, to unpeg this, you want to start here on these side panels. And you want to unpeg the rear of the vehicle mode. That was just one of the stand pieces falling, it's fine. And that detaches the cab piece from the rear, which is, again, all solid. It has a lot of little tabby bits back here. We'll set this off to the side for right now. We'll focus on the core robot. Then once that's done, that panel did come undone, but you just take this, and this actually slots into these gaps in the same way that the original did, but also, like, you want to have these open because if you just try to pull this off, these tabs are much more significant on this. So when you're putting it back into vehicle mode, put this piece, build this part, and then you take this piece and attach it in here. Make sure you'll know you're right side up. These big open circles go on the bottom. The ones that look like actual truck panels go on top. But you want to open these up. Kind of come under here and tab this in to those slots. And then once that's done, you want to close this all around because that tab's going to lock this in. You can see it's kind of, and now it's stuck behind this hinge. So once you lock that, this piece attaches very securely to the front of the truck. It doesn't come loose like the old one did. Like it's not just held in by these tabs. It's actually locked to the front of the truck, which is nice. We'll take that off. We'll set that off to the side for the time being, and we'll focus here on the cab. He does have his little wheel gun down here. It just kind of slots. There's a couple little tabs here on the side that just slot up in here in the front of the cab. Very similar to how it did on the old one, a little bit more secure than the old one. Like that. And here is your core robot. Now this is where you want to check. When you get yours, do that, get to this point. And if you want to check this to make sure you don't, if it's not already cracked, to make sure you don't worsen it, You want to bring these out to the side here. Oh, actually, you got to come in here because there's some little wheel pieces that I don't think you have to push them all the way up into that space, but they tend to kind of float up that way. Mine came up there, but there's these little wheel pieces, so you want to make sure those are clear here. And then open these panels up, bring these all the way around to the side. And these panels flip up to make the little detailing on what will be his knees. I don't know why they didn't just mold that in the first place. It does make it a little deeper, but you do have to fold it up because otherwise you won't be able to collapse this all the way because it'll hit the hips. So interesting design choice there, because I feel like you could have just molded that into the back of that wheel thin enough to fit there and not have a separate piece, but that's what they did. So it's neat. It does, like I said, it does give a little bit more depth and detail, but just FYI. But bring those around and then open up here, open this up. And here's where you want to be careful, because a lot of people are seeing cracking right here on the abdomen, like vertical cracks right here because of this piece in here. You can kind of see some of the lube. Some people have been saying they've gotten theirs and it's already been glued from the factory after it had cracked. And I don't think that's the case. I think what you're seeing is some of this internal lube leak out through the cracks that then get formed. Okay, I thought maybe I had a crack, but it was, once again, just some lube that had gotten up there, just the light reflecting off of it. It's not actually cracked there. But I mean, if it's cracked, you'll notice it because a lot of times it's through the silver paint. You'll see it like a line through the silver paint. And that's the part that's not cool, because some people are opening them up, getting this far, and realizing their toy is broken. There's a way to fix it so the damage doesn't get worse, allegedly, although I think once it's cracked, I mean, no matter how carefully you treat it, it will eventually get worse, even if it's very slowly. And it's just frustrating. This is not a very thick piece of plastic. I mean, it's pretty sturdy plastic, but it's not very thick. And the problem is this dark gray piece you see inside the body that slides up and down is just a little bit too wide for the mechanism they have inside that to allow for it. And the solution is just, you come back here. Let's go ahead and fold these lights down. Go ahead. Oh, you lift this up. This tabs the arms in. But bring the arms out to the side. And the solution is to unscrew this screw, and this screw, and slide the backpack apart. This is a bigger chunk on the front. This is a bigger chunk internally, this side. But pull this apart, and that'll give you access to the screws on the easy access to the screws on the torso, which is here, here, and these two in the middle of the gray pieces. You want to open the arms up, unscrew these two screws, and then you kind of fold the hands back so it comes straight off, and pull that middle section out, and then you can get to these four main screws on the torso. There's two up here behind the backpack, and two up here, and then two down here. And then you can get the torso apart, and then all you do is I don't know how well you can see it there, but this solid gray piece, just sand the sides down very gently. You don't need to do a lot. Just keep sanding it and test fitting it until it slides smoothly between the fins. And if you see the pictures, you'll know what I'm talking about. And that does fix it, because then it releases a lot of resistance. I have a little bit of wibble. It's still kind of, I had one minorly bent fin inside here, and it still kind of catches on that a little bit. I tried to straighten it, but you just want to make sure that like some people were having to really force this thing down. And if you try to transform it and this doesn't move at all, you want to do the fix, because a lot of that stress inside there is what's causing this to crack. But if you do it right, or if you're lucky, you won't have a lot of resistance here. But yeah, but once that's down, even if you do that, you're fine. So hopefully, if you're waiting on this and you get it, you won't have that crack. But you want to collapse that down. And then you open up this panel back here, flip his head up. Now he does have a matrix in his body that you can store. You can kind of see this little square space. Do not make a website. It's just a little square hole here in his back. In core robot mode, you can put the matrix in there. It's in his chest. We'll show it off when we get to super mode. But if you want to store it in his core robot, you can put it right there inside of his back. We'll close that up. Go ahead and bring the legs down. Split them apart. Rotate them. They do kind of catch a little bit, just the angle on the stuff. But if you just, where this piece kind of comes around here, but if you bend that knee back a little bit, you can rotate it past. It'll kind of want to, and there you go. And then bring the knee back up. Bring the legs down. Open up these white panels and flip his feet out. Now the feet here are a little smaller proportionally than the original, but they now have flip out heels, which are not huge, but do give them a little bit more stability here on the back in robot mode. And then the arms slide down, and this is always where I can never get the right, I always grab more than I need to because it's just this panel that slides down. And I always tend up grabbing it from a place that like doesn't want to work. So I'm trying to grab this. Also, I got some of that lube on my fingers and now it's slippery. There you go. You just want to kind of get in there. You can see the cutout there, just like on the original. There we go, and slide that down until it snaps, and that snaps the fist out. But then once the fist is snapped out, you can just push on this red panel and slide it back up out of the way. So he's got free fists. He doesn't have the big panel sitting behind his hand like the original did. It does give him more panel up here on the back, but, you know. But there is Optimus Prime in his robot mode. He's got all the same posability. He's got ratcheting. He's got bigger thighs, and that's mostly for the combined mode. I'm okay with that. I do wish, like this is as far as these chest windows compress. And the art, I'm going to get him all in frame. Even the art makes those panels look like they sit closer in. You can't get, tripod, this is not the time to mess with me. You can't, this is as far, you can see that they're attached to these shoulder pieces that can slide out for larger modes. That's as far as you can compress them. And I was really hoping these, they just weren't clipping them in because it was a fragile gray test shot when we first saw this. Because this really feels like these should have a little tab back here, even if it's not like a clip, but just kind of a friction tab to kind of fill in those holes and sit a little closer on his chest. It's not deal breaker, but it's one of the two serious quality and cracking issues aside. I have two minor nitpicks with the overall package. That's number one, is I just wish those sat a little closer. Go ahead and give him his gun here as well. And then just as a comparison, here he is with the original version. This is actually not the one from the vehicle version I just showed. This is his chrome's a little chipped because that's a really cheap beater I got off of eBay to put my Magnus on so I could have Superfire Convoy and God Magnus or God Convoy displayed next to each other on the shelf. Because I think Magnus is the weakest of the three robots. So he didn't come with a gun. He's just the core robot there to put armor on. But just to give you an idea of how they look. I don't miss the chrome chest because it chipped. But I do wish these windows sat just a little closer in. Head sculpt is great. I love the gold eyes. I think the things proportionally, again, the thighs here are a little thicker to fit for more of the larger modes, which I can accept that as a substitute. It's still a really cool Optimus. I do like the proportions on this one a little better, even though I think for a solidity standpoint and overall play factor, cracking aside, this one is a more fun toy. And you can also, like I said, you can if you want to have these up, you can rotate those up onto his back. I mean, like, I get it. They're there. I usually just keep them flat like that. It's just cool Optimus. But yeah, there's a quick comparison of these two, the original and the new one, side by side. And again, you can see what I'm talking about here. This piece did slide back, but it takes the fist with it. It doesn't slide separately from the hand. And while you do have a ball joint wrist there that you don't have on this one, you couldn't put anything through his hand. He couldn't hold any like spears or weapons with long posts because this got in the way. Whereas here you can now slide it back. You can leave it forward on this if you want, but you don't have to. And then coming around, we can take, before we get into bigger modes, we can go ahead and take this apart to get to these back wheel pieces. Now, again, before, these just kind of slid over and snapped into a little tab down here. They still connect to a tab underneath here, but how this works is you want to basically take this and unpeg it because this fits over a tab. It doesn't snap on like the old one did. You actually there's a little cutout here that folds over and locks into place. It's much more secure. But you do that, and then you do slide it out. There's another tab that, again, does lock. You'll see it's another kind of ridged tab here. So, and when you're going back to, and then there's a tab here as well on the chest plate that pegs into the side of this. It makes the vehicle mode is so much more secure on this one. So basically when you're going back to vehicle mode, when you put these on, you can go ahead and fold that piece down, and then you want to line up that tab so it goes, this tab so it goes in the slot, and then this lower clip goes over this piece from the side. You just kind of slide it on from the side here. And generally, if you've got one of those lined up, the other one's going to automatically line up. You just have that closed. And then once that's done, you take that and fold it over this tab, and that locks it real secure together. Like I'm really pulling here, and on the old toy, that would have just popped right off. But yeah, just to be careful when you're putting it back together, that's how you do it. That's the easiest way to do it. You can technically jam that blue clip over it this way, but you're going to miss this tab, and you can conceivably damage that tab. So do it that way. Unlock it, slide, lock. Easy. Set those off to the side for right now. And we'll go ahead and pop this piece off. For just a moment, we're going to put it right back on here in a second. And then these pieces right here, you can fold the feet down like this. Fold the wheels in, pop this piece apart, and then these can attach to Prime's shoulders. Oh, actually, the other way. You want to have the missiles facing forward. That's the point. And you can give them giant missile launchers. It's kind of well, you've got these parts. How can we utilize them in Prime mode? Although you can build a base with all the other pieces out of this, and that just seems like a better use of them if you don't want them just sitting around, because you put these giant missiles on Prime's shoulders. It's cool. He's super powered. You still got a bunch of bits. You still got these bits and these bits and this all just sitting around off to the side. And none of them really, these pieces are kind of the core of the base. Without these, you can't really hook the rest of them together in a way that makes sense. So, but you can do it. It's just like the original. You can put those big old missile launchers on his shoulder. But then you can also take these, just like this, put the feet out, fold the wheels up, snap these back together, put this piece back on here, just like that, fold that down, bring the head up, and make those as guns, bring this up, open up these side panels, and again, we'll flip up to show this all, or we'll pull the camera out once we get all done. But like, basically bring that up. You got this down here. You want to take, for this piece, you want to open up these panels here. It will be a little asymmetrical here once you get it all said and done. But rotate this up. Rotate the fingers around so they're kind of like guns. This panel stays up here. And you're going to want to take these panels here and peg them on to here. And then peg this thing in right here to the front of this side. Bring that forward like a gun. These turrets have a little bit of hinge to them, which is nice. They're not just flat on the body. And do the same thing on this other side. You don't have to make sure the Autobot symbols are up. I generally do. But I think it makes more sense. This time I got lucky. It was just a lucky happenstance that I got them up. But you can see this panel on this one is on this back piece for the connecting panel for vehicle mode. This one is on here on the front piece. So it's a little asymmetrical, unlike the original. But let's put that together like that. Point these up like guns and pop them off. Oh, come on. There we go. Now Prime, and he's got his little fire tower base. It's a thing that exists. It's better, I guess, than just having, I don't know, that's in focus. It's better than, I guess, just having those pieces sit uselessly off to the side. You can kind of put it in with a display. But yeah, you get that when you buy this figure. Go ahead and let's start getting him ready for combined mode. Yeah, I guess we'll do combined mode with him first. Then we'll move on to Ultra Magnus, show him off in blue bolts. And then we'll get into the Big Mamma Jamma itself. So, we'll take these. We'll go ahead and pop all these pieces apart once again. go ahead and fold this back up. Pop this up. Pop this up. All right, let's start with the feet. Split them open. Lift up that panel. Lift up this panel. Lift up that panel. Lift up this panel. Set them right there. And that's pretty much all we need to do at this point for these. So we'll set everything off to the side and we'll start working on Optimus. All you really got to do here, and this is one of the places you need to be careful and you want to make sure that slider is working, is lift him up just a little bit, like unpeg him from here. Lift up this backpack, untab it. Again, support, whenever you do anything that puts any friction on this, always try to support the body. I haven't had any issues with mine cracking, but if there's a little wibble that could push some pressure on this, you don't want to risk it cracking. But lift this up, bring this down just a little bit. You don't want it super up because it needs to fit. But then you fold this piece in like this, and then slide it through the core here, and then just kind of push it down until it sits. That makes Optimus just a little bit taller, but also, unlike the original where you just kind of stretched him out and prayed that it would stay, this keeps him from compressing. You put all the weight, you put all the armor on him, and this keeps him from collapsing, which is nice. It just kind of strengthens that spine, gives it a little bit more support, and really helps out with a lot of the structural integrity of both Super Optimus and Omega Prime mode. And then you just open this up. Uh-oh. That's my fault. I hit I've got a little remote for my LEDs, and my elbow pushed on it. Sorry about that. Disco Prime here. We just fold his head back. And when you open this up, if you open this up to fix this, you'll know you've got this back because there's a little tab, there's a little cutout here on this head, and there's a little tab on that spine piece when it comes all the way up that sits in the front. So you know the flat part that goes in the front because you need that tab up here for this to plug into it. The head won't sit right. But anyway, close that up. And there you've got the Core Prime ready to go for combined mode. So we'll take this, and this is where it gets it's a little bit tricky. One, you want to fold the heels in. But because these heels are on hinges, I didn't even really go over posability on him, but he's got, standard, he's got bicep swivel. He's got a wrist swivel, but not a ball joint. But you got a waist swivel, you got ratcheting hips, ratcheting knees. Again, that helps a lot with the stability and ball joint angles here. But because you got to clip it into here, and there's a little peg here that goes in as well. But if you don't, you got to kind of support it. You got to get in there real weird to get it to fit and slide between those things just right, because with the wibble and the ankle tilt, it likes to get away from you. There we go. And then just peg this into the front of the leg there. And this peg hole right here. And again, we'll do the same thing on this side. Sometimes you can get it to just go straight in. Like sometimes it fights me, sometimes it doesn't. But you really got to... It doesn't take much for it to wibble off to the side and not lock in. There we go. And then lock that in. And there's that core part. And then you go ahead and pull the arms. Extend them out to the side here like that. One of my knees is off. There we go. I was like, why is this wibbly? One of my knees was off just a hinge. Okay, let's bring this up here to the upper body. Yep, tripod. Again, this is not the time to vex me. I find at this point it's easier to do the core body here first because it's got to go up here before you put all of the, especially the shoulder pieces on. So take this piece, open up this panel all the way, bring this panel up straight, fold these panels up for the time being, these two gray panels here. And basically this little slot right here in the silver piece goes over this tab right here on the backpack, and then these two peg holes right here, these little tabs up here peg into, and then you're going to fold it down, and this is going to clip into the front here. And again, because he's not chrome, you're not going to chip anything, which is nice. These are clear plastic that's painted, but I do feel like you could probably scratch these up, but there's enough leeway and room and space inside the core robot and these are on a spring to keep them flat against the body as you move them. So you're less likely to scratch them. It's still possible. Be careful in combined mode that you don't rub these against the inside of the armor, but they've accounted for that, which is nice. But yeah, just kind of get those lined up on those tabs. Push it all down. Again, it helps to have this flat first, and fold this down, and you'll hear it. Well, come on. This is a whole lot easier to do when you're not sitting behind a camera and trying to do this at arm's length. Come on. There we go. There we go. Well, nope. And also don't have this dang. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and fold this ladder the other way so it's not counterbalancing me when I'm trying to do this. I've done this much more elegantly in the last couple of days than I'm doing right now. Just for the record. There we go. Well, no. Come on. Okay, and there's also some tabs here. You can see the gray tabs that are going to clip onto this backpack. If you get all that all lined up, it should just go right on. I don't know why it's being a pain in my butt. Come on. There we go. There we go. And then get those on. Once it's on, it's super secure. It just gives you a little bit of a pain to get it on there. And then just fold that back up like that. And he's got you don't have to fold this up. He's got the height to actually support that. And his head does kind of, people were complaining, and then these gray pieces fold down here on the side. His head does actually sit a little lower. He comes packaged with his head like all the way up like this, and he kind of looks like a dink. But you can if you just push that down and bring the head forward, it collapses his neck a little bit and it looks natural. Anyway, that done. Take these. I usually do these. They'll go on either side, but I usually do it so the Autobot symbol, if on the shoulder, if you flipped it forward, is facing the front. But it's entirely up to you. You can see there's 2 peg holes on either side. But just flip that on, plug it on there, and then fold it down. There's a little tab here that will tab into the front and back of the shoulder pad. Just like that. Same over here. And then you take the forearm pieces. Make sure you have the right hand. Blue goes on top. And that's just going to peg right onto the forearm. Line the gun around. You actually want to extend the slider as well so you have room. And then fold that up. Fold that up. Fold that closed. So there's still a little bit of a gap here. It doesn't close all the way. That's not an issue. That's how it's designed. But that's fine. It does cover more of that inner forearm than the original did. And we'll do the same. Oh, yeah, right. Forgot to bring that down. Now you need the clearance to get that on because of the way the hand sits. But like he does have a little bit of a like almost gorilla arms here with that white showing. Once you've got these on, there is some space between where the hand sits, so you can actually collapse these up a little bit. Hold on, come on. There we go. You can collapse them up to about there. And the friction will hold it pretty much anywhere in between those 2 places. So, why is this one not going? Oh, something here is bumping up against that arm that isn't on this side. That's weird. And I have it plugged in all the way? No, it's plugged in all the way. Huh, I'm not sure what's... Oh, my wrist was not... You do have to make sure the wrists are straight, because if they're angled, they'll catch... They won't slide in. You need to make sure that's... Well, no, what is pushing on this? This is... I've done this several times with no issues, and now suddenly it's giving me crap. Whatever. Oh, because there's a screw hole there. Well, how are you not? Well, there is a tab here that goes in that, so maybe be careful if you do that to lock it in place. Okay, well, fair enough. Well, that one's not hitting. I don't know. But you can, I've done that before. You can collapse them if you want to. And he retains all the same posability. He's got like a ball joint on the head. Actually, I think his head is a little bit more posable because it's not down near the body. But he's got a butterfly thing. And like I said, there's a gap there between this panel. So you're not rubbing that against it. You might want to watch these little gray panels up here on top. But that spring keeps that panel flat against the chest so you're not actually scraping on the inside of that, which is nice. But you can lift them up and down, bicep swivel. The fingers, the thumb is on a hinge. These are all one solid piece, kind of like the original. They didn't give you knuckles here for some reason, but alas. Yeah, whatever. Well, that's where that one wants to look. Whatever. I'm not going to fight it. And then you can store his small pistol right back here on the back. There's a little post there. Either way, there's a hole on either side. Whichever way you want that gun to face, you can store it right here on his spine. But yeah, there is Super Optimus. And real quick, as a size, where did he go? Oh, I need to transfer. My other Super Fire Convoy is still in vehicle mode. I need to pause and transform him. So let me do that real quick. We're 40 minutes in. Okay. And I'll be right back. All right, here we go. So here he is with his original self. And you'll notice he is significantly larger than the original Robots in Disguise Car Robots version of the mold. For good measure. And like, this is probably the single biggest improvement overall in this set. This is fantastic. This is still a really solid toy. Like, even old school, the original was a great toy. This enhances it a lot. Again, provided you don't get any cracks. That really kills all the enthusiasm for it. But just about everything, it's more solid. It's got more posability. It just, proportions are a little better. And again, you can see why the smaller core robot has thicker thighs here, because it looks a lot better in this mode. I think this is probably the best looking individual mode. I love Omega Prime, and it's kind of growing on me where the wing set, again, is my other nitpick. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But this is really the star of the set for me. And I'm pretty happy with it. Now, the stands for, as mentioned, you get two stands, you get two connector pieces, you get two of the little ramp pieces that go on the end. And then you get two of these stands and two of this connector piece. This stand works for Optimus and Omega Prime. This piece is an attachment that you put on, remember how it goes, like this, and then it's going to plug in to Ultra Magnus with the two pegs. So this adapter is for Ultra Magnus. You get two, even though you only have one Ultra Magnus in the set, and I don't know if that's just because of how the mold worked. They probably just molded everything twice and threw it in there. So you get this little extra connector, or I guess if you lose one, but you only need it. You only need this piece for Ultra Magnus. But you just take it and you just slide it right in here. No, not going to come out, but yeah, it just slides right in. Snap it forward, and then this piece. Actually, for him, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, so it goes a different way. So for a smaller Optimus, I've had GodCon or Omega Prime attached to it. Put it in this way for Optimus with the lower peg facing forward. And then that will fit. You kind of got to get his thing out of the way. And that'll peg right in there to the back of his waist. And you can fold that down if you want to display him on the stand and locked in. Now, I will say his feet touch. You know, there's no wibble. It's not holding up in a hovering position. But stability-wise, I've had no problems. Small Optimus, Super Optimus, Ultra Magnus, Omega Prime all stand super rock solidly. The stuff they do with Magnus's feet is actually really, really cool. But if you want to have them on the stand and have them look cool with this little space bridge kind of esque detailing, you can do that. I will probably have the stands, for the most part, staying in the box because I don't really know that I need them. Because, like I said, they're very solid figures. And again, you can see the windows are kind of showing there, but you can kind of push those in a little bit. You don't have to have those arms butterflied back like that. So there is, just a real quick, let me get him off the stand because it does give him a little bit of extra height advantage. Not much, but, third of an inch. Let's get him standing there. Let's compare him with a couple of other figures. Here he is with the Hasbro Armada Prime. You see bigger, larger, bulkier. Here he is with Magmatron. And again, bigger. But roughly, these are both roughly individually about Commander class sized figures. He's a little bigger than both of these Commander classes, but in that general price range if you're trying to get an idea of the size of this guy. And here he is with Studio Series 86 Optimus, just because he was right there. Very big. So now, let's move on to Ultra Magnus. Put Convoy off to the side here, and we'll come back down a little lower to focus on, well, again, not the day to mess with me, tripod. Well, I mean, any day. I would prefer you not mess with me at any point, but there we go. So there's Ultra Magnus. Let me go ahead and put him off to the side. And we'll look at Magnus here. Let me lift this up just a smidge. And as you can see, he's a car carrier with a big gun on the front, just like his original self. And speaking of car carrier, I stuck him in here the other day. But here he is with Sideburn, the newer version, Legacy Sideburn. I've specifically had him out on my review shelf, review table, waiting to go for ever since I bought him several months ago. And that's not tabbed in right. Thigh, there we go. Lock that all together. As with, like, again, Fire Convoy and Ultra Magnus and the God Convoy have been sitting on this table, and I've moved them off every time I've shot a review, literally since I funded, or I signed up or pledged for the Haslab Fire Convoy. It's been sitting there just waiting for them to show up, so I'm glad they're finally here. But yeah, you can see, you can sit, deluxe class cars all fit up here. Okay, well, Bumblebee, hold on, I've got those little, he might fit inside. Well, you have to kind of get these out of the way, I guess. But he might fit up in there. Yeah, oh yeah, you can get the Game Reverse Bumblebee up in there. Although his tail, well, no, you can get him in there with the tail spikes real tight, but he can get in there, or you can park him up top. Just to give me an idea. You can fit 3 cars on here if you don't have that on there. Okay, you see, there's a lot of, you're going to see a lot of similar engineering here. Although, again, they do some really neat stuff with how Magnus transforms in this as well. So the gun, Blue Bolts, which is now a transforming weaponizer figure, forms the gun up here. Let me get his original G1 self, who is missing their missiles. I have them because he was on the shelf for a while, launched both the missiles behind a bookcase, couldn't find them when I packed him up to clear them off the shelf, and you can see the yellowing that's happening. Some people have also had some issues. I've seen 2 instances, confirmed instances, of people who have said their Magnus arrived already starting to yellow. Not cool. I don't know how isolated of a case that is. I have not seen that nearly as prevalently as I have seen the cracking on the abdomen. So another thing to watch out for. Mine's fine. And again, but a lot of people have, like, that's a very rare case. That might legitimately be just a batch control, quality control, minor issue that doesn't affect all the units. And I'm not seeing it in the same way that I'm seeing the crack on Prime. That's the more egregious sin to me. But anyway, there they are together. And you can see, this actually, if you look closely at how these sit on the cab, Magnus's vehicle mode is maybe slightly smaller, just a smidge smaller than his original self. A little thinner, but just a little bit. Obviously a little shorter because of the way the gun works, but that's a lot of that's just because the profile of his gun is a little smaller. But also it looks like he's got this sits farther back on this one, and if you look at where these pieces are hitting, it doesn't really sit that much farther back. It's just that these have these angled fins and are extended a little bit more further over the cab then here, you can see these cut off by the back windows, whereas these come all the way up to halfway to right behind the front windows. So there's a little bit of an optical illusion there. It does sit a smidge further back, just based on where these pegs are. The pegs are in roughly the same place. But for the most part, very similar vehicle modes. The transformation is where you get into some really crazy stuff. This gun obviously was just one big weapon on the original. This is the whole Blue Bolt. She's really cool. She turns into a gun, turns into armor, can fill out Ultra Magnus, although that's kind of more of a just, we found a place to store her. Is a she, canonically, according to Hasbro, so that's cool. I didn't show off Prime's Matrix. We'll get to the Matrix here in a little bit. They both have removable matrices. But once we get to the size comparison, then I'll show off both the matrices for Magnus and Prime. But yeah, there's a quick comparison there. And now we'll get to Magnus himself. So let's start off with Blue Bolts here. We'll take her off right here. She just pops right off. I've seen somebody ask, again, it's a weaponizer, so if you need to take them in a couple different pieces, you can. Somebody asked if this could attach to the back of the vehicle mode like on the original. And because the original has some posts like this back here, you can kind of flip this around in a way, like you kind of have to rotate these in a different way, and then you can have this facing forward, but these have to face backwards because, how did I do this? I can't remember exactly how I did it, but you can kind of get these in like this, and then use these tabs right here on the side to peg in here. Like I had some success doing that, like that's not right. Maybe this had to go, or maybe it had to go like this, there we go. And then you can kind of peg that in like that, but this doesn't quite clear back here, so it sits at a weird angle, even if you do get it connected right. Let's see, like this. And how do I have that connected? Oh, not like this. Yeah, see, it's not really working. You can kind of get it to work, but it doesn't really sit back here like that. But again, weaponizer means it comes apart. So go ahead and take the arms off, take the missiles out, and then to transformer open up these, bring the legs down. These should flip all the way up. These form kneecaps. Actually, I want to rotate them. So this thing is up here. This is a little targeting system. You can flip up on the gun. We'll show that off in a minute. Flip the feet down. Kind of got little elf boots. Open this up. Flip the head around. Close the front and back panels up. There's Blue Bolt's head. And then these just attach his arms. You gotta get that little peg hole out here. Come on, you. There we go. Just peg the white peg into the shoulder here. There we go. Rotate that. Get the white peg out. And peg it into the shoulder. Nope. Be careful not to collapse it into the body. Let's see if we can support it a little bit. There we go. Like that. And then the missiles have some little tabs that let them slot in right back here on the back. The missiles are kind of a last-second addition, but I'm glad they included them because it just doesn't look right without those missiles. So there's Blue Bolts as a robot. And she's pretty cool. Got a ball joint neck, hinges there, bicep swivel. All these connection points are 5mm ports. You can make the big combined mode gun like you saw, the big gun, and Magnus can hold it in his robot mode as the big gun like he could originally. I've seen some builds for the long rifle, but the instructions don't show how to hold it. Like you'll see the long rifle when I bring the original back up. But the long rifle mode, you can I found a couple different ways to approximate it, but then I can't figure out how to attach it so we can hold it like a rifle. You can take the arms off, hide the rest of these core pieces inside Magnus, and have these as individual guns, which honestly works for me. Because I always thought that big gun was a little unwieldy as it was. So to have it as a separate little robot that can also be guns and also store away inside Magnus is a much more amenable position than just having this giant chunk of plastic that was hard to wield in all modes. You kind of had to have them really wield it. You had to plug it in and hope it supported itself. It was fun at the time, but in hindsight, a little bit of a mess. But so there's Blue Bolt. Now off to, you know what? While she's here, there she is with Cerebros, just to give you an idea about how big she is. Standard weaponizer size, deluxe class figure-ish. A little smaller than the deluxe, but you know. On to Magnus. And again, this is one of those instances where don't think you know how to do it because there are some significant changes. Like, not visually, not a big deal, but transformation-wise, pretty significant changes to how he transforms. So we'll go ahead and unpeg these up. That's pretty similar. Fold those up, clip those into place right there. Unpeg these from the side. Again, we are right where we need to be if you've ever played with an Ultra Magnus toy. Here's where it starts to get a little different. These feet, the big long feet down here, are slightly tabbed in here, but also, they're also, you can see there's a little white tab here. Before you pull these off, take these white wheels and slide them down. There's a little tab in there that slides up and locks these in place. So on each side, pop those wheels down and out to unlock this. And there's a couple smaller tabs. You can see there's a couple little tab holes on his feet that tab onto these little tabs here on the back. But then that whole section comes off, and it's not as much of a pain to get the legs transformed and attached this time around. And then these fold up. I actually want to get this up here. Unpeg these blue pieces. Again, these tabs lock it into place, so untab those first, and then you can kind of get this whole backpack assembly up and out of here. Untab them off, peg them off of there. Lift that up, and then these wheel pieces fold up into the forearms. But all in all, again, much more secure vehicle mode than the original did, locking all that back end of the truck onto the front end of the truck. Right now, we're going to set this part off to the side while we do the legs. It'll be real quick. Untab these. Like that. Fold these down. Flip these out and around to the outside just like before. Fold these down just like before. Take these, lift them up, flip the whole panel around, flip this up, tab it back on. Again, so far this is very similar to how the old legs transformed. Pop these apart like that. And here's where it gets a little different. You're going to want to take this piece and flip it up like that. Take this piece, flip it up like that. Now the feet, you want to take this big foot and you slide it, untab it here from first, it's tabbed right here, and slide this big foot piece down, flip it up, and then collapse it back up. And now here's his toes, small toes like the original, but now he's got this big giant heel piece that really supports him quite nicely. And do the same over here. Just untab this a little bit so you can get free that foot, extend it down, flip it up, collapse it, attach it right there. And then these pieces right here rotate in like this. And then snap these together. This is now his waist. There's a couple clip there. Come on. Yeah, clip that together. And you see there's some grooves here. That's how he's going to attach to the main core body. We'll get to that in a minute. Put those off to the side. And come to the core body of Magnus. And here you're going to see a lot of, you've seen this before type of things. You're going to open these up. What's nice about this is it actually tabs in both positions, unlike the original. So you just fold that up. This is also a piece, somebody had one that was missing the Autobot symbol that needs to be here for this piece to clip on. The Autobot symbol comes attached to Magnus. This piece is a separate, the chrome piece is a separate plate that clips on. You can see where that tabs on. I don't know if you can pop it back off. Oh, yeah, you can. So basically, he comes shipped like this, with this as a separate piece, and you got to take this and tab it onto the Autobot symbol when it arrives. And these are also separate little pieces that just kind of clip in together here. Plug that back in. Oh, no. But yeah, those plug in. All of the gray plastic is separate pieces that the chrome pieces plug into, but it does ship as one big wing. But anyway, you fold that up, and then it does lock back here. It tabs in this position too, which is nice because on my original, this is real floppy and it just flops around all the time. Lift that down. And you're just going to kind of take this and fold it down like that. The arms come out to the sides. Again, you're not seeing anything super crazy here. That they do tab in to the sides of these missile launchers. Or not missile launchers, these are supports for the gun in giant combined mode. Tab those in. It's going to be a long video review. Rotate his hands around, open up the hands, and again, hands one big single feast, thumbs with the tabs. That's right now, those look very similar to how these hands even function very similarly to how the original did. You can bring them down you don't have to keep them flat against the body. You can fold those down to give them a little bit slightly bigger hands here in combined mode. And you just come right here, pop this open, rotate his head around, and then tab it right back into the back of this panel. This piece, again, untab these. Some people have had complaints about these not collapsing properly. Mine actually, one side of mine is slightly tighter than the other, but I didn't have to use, some people were saying they had to use like colossal force to get these to collapse, and thankfully I didn't. If you have that issue again, there's 4 screws right in here. You can pop this apart. You can kind of shave down a little bit of a tab that's in there and make it so it's not force. But even the people who had to use a lot of force initially, it seems like it's just something that kind of got stuck during manufacturing, because once they had it collapsed, it worked just fine after that. So just an FYI. But then these fold around, and then you can see there's a tab here. These actually collapse back down and tab and lock into place, so these aren't flipping around loose either, which is nice. And here's where it always gets me. Fold this down. This should fold up and collapse in a way that these wings tab in. You can see there's some slots in the wings that are supposed to tab in here. And there we go. It's just a matter of getting everything lined up right so those do. Just kind of wibble it. And then these just kind of fold this down, fold that down, and form little kind of detail panels there behind his shoulders. And then once that's done, you've got his torso done, you've got his legs done, and then basically these little tabs right here are where you're gonna take these, and you're gonna, from the front, you're gonna slide this on and lock it together. And there's Magnus in robot mode. He's a lot more secure, he's a lot more solid. He's got those nice big heels to keep him up. We were just looking at his knees right now, I know, give me 1 second. But there he is in robot mode. Nice broad wings. Cool. Here he is with the original here. And again, the original's a little more massive weight-wise because it's got a lot of electronics. It's a little denser in some places. I think the shoulders overall look a little better proportioned on the original. I do still like the wings on the original. I don't like them so wide. They look better on Magnus than they do to me on God Convoy or Omega Prime. But I've always liked the way those ramps/wings worked on the original. But alas, I think overall the newer one is a far superior figure. That just the wings are my other little nitpick, if I had to nitpick, outside of the previously mentioned egregious error of the cracking. But here's what I'm talking about. Here's the one big long rifle that you could peg into either side to activate different sounds. It would make a different sound based on which cannon was facing forward, which is apparently one of the issues with the Encore release, but I didn't get that, so I have no idea what people are going on about. I know it was an issue and apparently caused a big stink and they recalled it. But you can also hold it as a big combined weapon, which will, the big gun that we just took off the car, you could plug it into both sides at the same time. Yeah, but there's that. Again, here he is with Magmatron. And go ahead and get Armada Prime up here as well, since they're all sitting right here. Armada Prime, where are you? Armada Prime, and let's go grab him. Let's get Studio Series 86 Prime up here, right there. And as mentioned, you can, the way this works is the instructions show these as separate little guns. You can have him wield, I'm not sure, I guess maybe have that as the handle and plug that in right there. Will it fit? I guess no, that won't fit. I guess you kind of have to use that peg if you want him to actually hold it even remotely like an actual weapon. But it doesn't really want to. Well, hold on. Come on. I haven't actually pegged into that peg hole, which is probably why it's just new and it just doesn't want to take anything right now. Well, frustrating. There we go. Yeah, okay. If you do it like that, that actually doesn't look too bad. Looks like he's holding a little pistol. He's got the handle in his hand. I like that. I like that a lot better. I hadn't actually put them in as individual weapons yet. This is the first time I did it. But yeah, I think I like that more than the big giant gun. I think I like giving him separate little. Well, okay, well, you get the idea. I'm not gonna fight it on this side. Go ahead and take that out. And again, you can turn blue bolts back into the big cannon, which is really easy. Flip that around, fold the leg up and around like that. Leg up, oh, wrong way, and around like that. Fold the feet up. Attach one of these, I guess, here. Flip that around. I guess depending on how wide you want it, you could attach that here or here, but whatever. Actually, no, there is an actual way to attach these because you can plug this in here and then actually, yeah, rotate this around. So you plug this in here and this little tab here plugs into this little slot right there. That's how this all locks together to make the big combined gun. Yeah, and then there's the targeting system that I was talking about. Nope, I did that wrong. There we go. Then flip that around so it tabs. There's the big combined gun. Put the missiles in. Although now there's no peg hole to attach it to his hands, which makes me wonder if maybe you're supposed to flip these around so you can peg it into his arms, which would also work. Peg those around, you can kind of peg it. Yeah, there we go. Just peg that into his... I'm going to use that peg because it doesn't fold in and it's a lot more secure. Well, now it doesn't fit there. Are you messing with me? Hold on, I'm going to look at the instructions because, again, I haven't had him hold the weapon. I've been so busy playing with everything else. Give me 1 second here. So I'm kind of a dingus here because I should have realized this. He has put the gun together, lock it all together like this. I had it right the first time. Just for the record, I just had one little piece of, let's say, vital information. And that is because there's peg holes in the back of these red things. So the way that he holds this is you bring his hand up and you plug his thumb into that red hole like that. And he can hold blue bolts. And that actually works because the hand comes in, the thumb pegs in, the fingers wrap around the post. It actually looks a lot more elegant than the original. Just plug it all into. Let me get all this connected, and then we'll connect that all together into a gun. It's a little awkward, but you can do it. You can do it. I really should be quoting Rob Schneider right now. Not Rob Schneider, whatever. Anyway. But yeah, you can. Come on. But yeah, I'm not doing a great job of showing this off, but you can hold the big gun. It's just a matter of getting it all clearanced out here, but you get the idea. Yeah. Okay. Well, you get the picture. But then you can take him all apart. You can take Blue Bolt, not him. You can take her all apart. So you basically take the guns here, pull the missiles out, and then take the legs off right there at the thigh. So you have, and leave these folded up. So you have this core piece, you have these legs when you want to bring these out to the side like this, the weapons and the missiles. And how this works is, it doesn't do a lot of filling the gaps because he is kind of hollow back here. But you open up his chest right here, lift this up. There's a peg hole right here under his head. And you're basically going to take, fold this flat, take blue bolts and peg this on right here. You peg that on and then fold that in. And that core part stores in his body, which kind of fills out the gap up here. Still like some pieces in there, but it does kind of fill it out so it's not as hollow. And then back here on the legs, you take, let me lean forward there, Magnus. The leg pieces, these square pieces, there's a square cutout right here in the thing. It's a square cutout over here. There's a peg right here. You attach this. The thigh fits in this little square cutout in the blue part and pegs onto the outer peg there. And then same on this side. And then the guns come in just however you want to. And they're going to peg in, I guess you went this way, to these little peg holes up here. I'll fold that back. There you go. Peg in just like that. And let's see how we're going to do that. Peg in just like this. Peg in there. Fold that in. And the missiles, now admittedly, the missiles were an afterthought. You know, they did add these on at the last minute. So these just go through these little, since they're 5mm, they just kind of stick in back here. It's a little awkward, but if you just don't want to lose your pieces, that's where they go. And then you've got all the blue bolts sitting in there. It doesn't really fill out the legs so much, let's be honest. But it does put something back there at least. And it kind of fills out the torso. And real quick before I forget, since I haven't done it yet, here is our two new boys together. You know what I just did? Because of how similar they are, I just grabbed the original Fire Convoy and not the new one, because I'm a ding-dong. There we go. And knocking everything around here, clamps those in a little bit more. Just to give them a quick comparison shot, side by side. Prime is actually a little taller and bigger than Magnus this time around. Magnus has the width just because of the wings, but Optimus is much bulkier this time around. On the original toys, Magnus was a little taller, a little bigger. Actually, we can show that off. Give me 1 second. Come on. Here are the originals right here. And you can see Prime much smaller than the original iteration. So I really like what they've done with the new set. And now it's time to get to... oh wait, before we get to that, let's talk about the stands. So here's the stand with the Magnus adapter, and the way his stand works is you take this, you pop it out, rotate it around like this, I believe. No, I think it does stay like this. You attach this right here to here. Oh no, you need to rotate it around. Sorry. So this is sitting in the front, and you've got the two peg holes there. Come on. And then it's gonna slide in, and there's two peg holes in the back waist piece here on Magnus. This dark gray piece in the back. So you slide this in. It kind of, you see how it kind of straddles it a little bit, and it pegs in back here. You gotta have them straight to do it though. But it pegs in back there and supports them on the stand like that. So that's just how that works. And then you just gotta pull them off of it. But yeah, there's Magnus. And we'll start pulling him apart and getting to Omega Prime mode. And now, let's move on to the big finish. So, let's go ahead, get all of Blue Bolt's parts out of here, and turn her back into the big gun. Oh, come on. There we go. And pop this out. Is that? Yeah, that's the right way. Wait, no, is it the right way? Yeah, whatever. Put that little hook down. Missile. Yep. Yeah, all these things are 5mm ports. They just pop right off. It's fun. Oh, nope. Actually, I'm going to bring them down like this. Okay. And there we go. You got that? It's going to peg in right here. Great. Set that off to the side. Take Ultra Magnus apart. Oh, I forgot to show these off. There is, yeah, see, he's got a little energy matrix in here that can come out. It's a separate piece. I can get it in there. It may require a prizing tool, but there we go. There's a little energy matrix. He comes with one. Prime comes with one in his chest. And you can also store that, like I said, in the back of the core robot. But he just stores right in there in his chest. And I've already gotten them all taken apart here. But let's go ahead and I'll show you off. In Super Prime's chest, right here, this flips up. And he's also got a little removable. Again, it's really in there. And you may need a small prying tool. Use something soft and plastic. Don't use metal. You don't want to scratch anything. Maybe this Lego piece remover will. Man, no, even the Lego remover doesn't want to get that out of there. I can see it moving. It wants to wibble out. Come on, wibble out. Come on, you can do it. Well, I feel like it's right there. There we go, I got it. So there's his little matrix as well. It's just clear, transparent green plastic with some silver paint on it. It goes right there in his chest. So cool. All right. On to Magnus here. Separate his legs out just like before. Just slide them forward here and get them all. Come on, there we go. Set those off to the side. Unpeg the legs from each other. Fold that up and just fold it right back into where it lived before. It does have a little tab here. There we go. There we go. There's like a little peg here in this peg hole that goes. Just make sure that lines up and snaps into place. Same over here. Fold it back in like this. Fold it into place like. Oh, there we go. Make sure it tabs together. Bring these up. Rotate this around and around like that. We're going to bring this up like this. And then this piece is going to come up. The foot is going to come loose from back here, like that. It's going to come up here. You can reach right through here and push this little foot plate down. Again, very similar to the original. This foot comes down, but as before, when we saw how it transformed for Ultra Magnus, you take it like this, and then you extend it like that, and now you've got a big long foot to support Omega Prime. It's really nice. Fold it back, pick this up and peg it in like this. fold that kind of in like that, but that's pretty much what we're going to do for that side of the leg, and we're about to do the other one as well. And it's the same thing, just unpeg this, fold it up, push that little foot panel down through the inside. You might need your pinky depending on how your fingers are. If you got little fingies, you can do it. Extend the foot like that. Around. Actually, I want to fold this in. Nope, I'm wrong. Oh, there we go. Just line it up so that pegs in. Tab that together. Fold that around. Tab it together. Flip this down. Oh, before you close this panel, make sure this comes around because that'll lock it in place. Bring it around like that. There is the feet ready to go. Set those off to the side. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and start putting them together as we do this. Focus down. Come here. Now, the foot goes in there just like before. There's a tab here to lock into the back of the leg, which is nice. So peg that in there. This piece right here pegs into the side like that. And now this folds in, pegs in there, and this pulls up and pegs in there. So it's a lot more secure. Make sure this hinge is flat and then folds up and it pegs right in. So it's pegged in here, here, and on the side. Like it's a lot more secure connection. You got some ankle tilt. It's got a big solid foot here. Really nice for combining. So again, come up here. You can even if you want, like pop this whole assembly out like this. Put the foot in. It's kind of got the same problem as the Super Mode boots do, although it's a little easier to get the feet into these slots here on the Magnus boots. But bring that in, tab it in back here, fold this up and peg it in right here and right here. Oh, my dog's having a wolf dream. It's okay, baby. Plug that in, bring that flat, fold it in. Legs are on, he's got boots. Got ankle tilts, and again, just look at that. He's solid, shaking him, not falling over. Granted, we don't have all the stuff on yet, but you know what I mean. Come up a little higher. We're gonna take Magnus's hands off, and again, this is very similar to the old school way. Just pop these, open these up. Again, this one has just a little panel that fits into this groove here, so you want to make sure that you got to open this up before you can get the other panels open. But he's got cool little Autobot symbols molded onto his forearms that the original didn't have, which is nice. But yeah, so this is, rotate the hand around because you're going to do the same thing as before. Make sure you got the right hand on the right side, left hand on the left side. Okay, I accidentally hit the stop video button, but it looks like I got all through the feet, so I may have just done that. So anyway, make sure you got the right hand on the right side, right, all that good stuff. And then you just put the thumb into the hand like that, fold the hand around, peg this on to onto the forearm plate here. And then, just like before, fold everything around, lock it up. There you go. And again, because of the way the hand wraps around this hand, you can't really collapse this the way you could in Super Prime mode. But yeah, open these up. Plug it on. Wait, no, you want this side up. Make sure the hand's rotated the proper way. Peg it on there. Fold it up. Thumb in, hands together. Like I said, you can collapse them a little bit, but not a lot because there's just that little gap there. But you fold that up. Fold that up. Fold this up. Lock it into place. And again, if you want, you can collapse it just a little bit. You'll hear it click. There we go. So there's the forearm pieces are on, and now we get to the Magnus core, which is this is where the instructions are a little unclear, so I kind of have to wing parts of it. No pun intended. But rotate this up and around, bring this down, unpeg this up here. And then untab the arms from these. This whole wing pack assembly untabs, flips around. These are going to come up. The end result of these is they're going to end up sitting. This tab's going to fit up into this slot, and these are going to clamp down onto here. But it takes a little bit of finagling to get there. But if you do it like this, you can see there's a little slot where that peg goes through, and Ultra Magnus's head hides inside the backpack, which is nice. Like, it's actually fully covered. Nope, I guess he is kind of peeking right there, but you know, once you get it all done, his head's hidden inside the backpack. Open up these panels right here. And this is where it gets really cool because, again, there's just a lot of little subtle ways that it supports itself. Bring these out. Now, these are not pinned on, even though there's a pin running through these for the hinges. These themselves, these blue pylons, are not pinned on. So if you need a little clearance here, they can wiggle out on that post. But these are separate pieces. They do come off. Be aware of that. So open that up. These panels right here flip up. And this is what's cool. These flip up and around to make some room for the red panels to flip up. But also, when these come up and around, they peg in here, but they also peg in, there's a little tab here that slots into this chest plate, which is really cool because it keeps them, it keeps that chest plate from flopping around, which the original didn't have. So if you got a floppy chest plate, it just was a pain. There we go. Lock that into place. And it also keeps these from flopping too far back. Instead of folding to the side like they could on the original, it keeps them out to the side and prominently displayed, which is really cool. Then bring these up. And again, these have some good support, so these can stay angled up. These don't get floppy, which is also nice. But bring those up and around. Go ahead and open this up and bring the head up and around like that. There's a couple tabs here that will slot in up top. Rotate his antenna up. Again, these are separate pieces. They're shipped separately. Sometimes rotating them will cause them to slide off, so just be aware of that. You just got to squeeze them back together. This piece folds up inside here. There's the clip right there. And then this piece right here is going to fold up. There's a little hinge right here, dual hinge right here. So this collapses closer to the chest here like that. There's still a little bit of a gap here, and it doesn't have a filler like the original, but this collapses in closer to the chest, which is nice. And then it's just a matter of getting all this stuff out of the way and sliding everything down into place on top of Prime. He's got the same tabs on top, so you just kind of slide this down over the backpack, tab it in on top here, and clip this piece into place. Although, again, I'm doing this at arm's length from behind a camera, so apologies. It's going to take me a couple tries. There we go. And snap that into place. Fold that down. Bring this piece down. Let's bring this up here a little bit because we're working way up here. And then you can go ahead and fully collapse this up against the chest like that. And it sits there. And these have these pieces keep the little folded doors keep these from sagging too much, which is nice. And then this comes down like this. Lift up this flap right here, and you can fold the arms in like this and like that. Rotate these so the elbows face the right way, but fold these in and rotate this around like this. And then this piece is the flap's going to fold down and lock those pieces in place. So now instead of having these arm pieces flopping and flipping around back here, they're locked in by this base plate and don't flip around. It's nice. It's a really nice core spine and makes them really solid. And then like I said up here, you want to kind of wibble these into place. Lift this up a little bit until these tab in. And hold on. This assembly has always confused me quite a bit. Just gotta get it so. But basically these should rest up on top here. I thought there was a way to, oh, this should tab in. You're gonna collapse it in, and then this tabs into the backpack, so this is secure. And then once that's done, these will tab on right there, and then that will close over it and lock it. And so now you've got this little detail up here. Again, tab it on all the way, close it and lock it. Bring the chest piece back down. There we go, lock it, snap it into place. We're almost done here. But there's core Omega Prime without the giant gun. And then you take the giant gun, you take the little dual dibbles here, attach it right up here on top. And there you go. There's Omega Prime, all combined. And he's freaking cool. He's solid. Like, I can shake him, I can wibble him, I can shake the table, I can do whatever I want. He does not fall over. He's got these big feet down here, super secure. There's no floppiness in the joints. All the joints are ratcheting. He's got all the same, he's got a ball joint at the head, all the same posability you had in regular Prime mode and Fire Prime mode. He does actually have knuckled fingers. They're still all one piece, hinged thumbs. Maybe we'll get some third-party hands with knuckles, but thigh swivels, ratcheting hips, knees, all that good stuff. He's super posable. He's super cool. Again, there is that issue of the breakage, which is just not cool. But if you get one that's not broken, or if you do the fix, it's a shame that so many are having issues, because he's such a fantastic figure, all told. They did a really good job on this stuff, and the manufacturing dropped the ball. So we got a couple other little things real quick to show off. One, here he is with the original Fire Convoy, Super Fire Convoy, just to give you an idea of how these stand. I was almost wary about moving him off to the side, but then I realized he's not going to fall over. So yeah, nicely cool. Here, we're going to get all the things we've already put out yet. Here he is with Magmatron. Big, again, big, cool. Yay. Armada Prime. Armada Prime Studio Series Optimus. Again, just to give a group shot of Optimus there. Different universes. All cool. And if I can get him over here without the whole thing falling apart and collapsing on me. Yep. I spoke too soon. Why did your foot fall off? What? Oh, man. The things I do in the name of toys. All right, let me get his foot. His other foot just fell right on his toe, I guess. Piece fell off. Here he is with the original Omega Prime. Now, you can't see it in the camera shot, but literally, as I picked him up, since it's just a friction hinge, his whole combined mode toe fell off. So let's just snap that back into place here real quick. There we go. Before we get this wide shot. And again, you can see what I'm talking about. Like, these shoulder panels are floppy on him. This, there's a side of him side by side. You can see how yellowed my original Magnus is too. Just oof. But like, this doesn't lock into place. It just kind of friction holds up there. There's nothing keeping those from falling back, and there is on this one. They just did a really fantastic job. The proportions are a little better. I do wish, like I said, the wings. I wish the wings sat on this guy. I wish they sat a little lower like they do on the original. But a lot of that depends on the angle you're looking at it from. From a little below, it doesn't look too bad. From higher up, it looks like they just sit weird. But yeah, he's here. He's cool. It's just a damn shame about the Kraken issue. That's just, it's not cool. That's not acceptable. You shouldn't be having to deal with that on a figure this, especially when the figure, when it works, is this cool. And I'm not trying to gloat or make anybody feel bad. I feel truly horrible for anybody who gets one of these cracked. But anyway. And then the stand, now you just leave it on like this. You don't put the Magnus attachment on there. And this is, again, you don't really need it. He's pretty solid as is. But if you want it, you can take him and you just leave it as normal. It plugs into the lower port here with the extra feet, and he's super solid. It does give you some balance because there's one more thing that we haven't talked about yet. Let me see if I can. get this locked up at a better angle here to show this off. Here we go. Oh, nope. Again, tripod, man. Just as well, really. Here is the giant sword. It's huge. It really is just huge. And he can hold it, kind of. Like, he's got some ridges inside of his hand that clearly are intended to plug in here. I haven't been able to get it to plug in securely enough to really hold it one-handed. You can get it in there, but, like, just getting it to line up. It'll get in there. He can hold it. You wrap his hand around it, but, I mean, it's bigger than my light tent. Look at that. It's just going, there's a whole light tent. It comes out the top. It's huge. But you can have him hold it. You can have, he can support it. If you want to have him hold it at like a wide angle, you can get him to two-hands it, and just having two hands on it, he's got enough support to hold it. Look at that. It's sticking out that far, and his hands aren't sagging. He's locked into place. It's awesome. I don't know where it's going to sit. I don't know if it's going to stay in the box. I don't know if I'm going to display him with it, but it's cool that they included it. It comes in 4 parts. It comes in the handle, these two halves of the handle, these two hilt guard pieces, and then the sword itself. Well, although the sword itself is a bunch of sandwich pieces itself. Like this top piece is its own single piece, and then it's sandwiched pieces, like the same, duplicate pieces sandwiched together all the way down. But most of it comes pre-sandwiched. So yeah, it's just a matter of sandwiching it all back together. You can disassemble it if you need to store it. Oh, I shouldn't have done that yet. I shouldn't get this in there, but there. But yeah, it's a very big sword. It's cool. I don't know where it's going to live in the display, but you do get the sword as well. Anyway, that is Omega Prime from Haslab, and it's just a dang shame that it is marred by that cracking issue, because if it weren't for that, he'd be pretty much perfect. And as for the other elephant in the room, like a lot of people talked about, I've gotten a lot of comments over the last few days that I've been posting pictures of people who like found my channel because they saw the original Prime or picked up the original version of this guy from the video review of mine they saw. And it just reminds me like just how long I've been doing this. I started in March of 2008. It's been 17 years doing this. A lot of you like found my videos as kids and have grown up with them. And I just got to say, it's been amazing watching you all grow up and go out into the world and do things. Some people, were 7 or 8 when they started, and now they're almost 30, which is, man, I'm proud of you guys and girls and everybody. But I think this might be it for me. I don't know that for a fact. But with everything going on, this feels right. To have this be my big finale, even though like I've been ranting and raving for probably over an hour now. I haven't put all the timing together. Well, the first video was 40 minutes, so I'm sure we're into like an hour and a half. I don't even know if this is going to save to my iPhone for being too big. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm not going away. I'll still be on Twitter. I'm still on Blue Sky. Same username as here. I'm still going to be talking about Transformers. I just don't know if I have it. I don't know. I don't want to never say never, I don't want to say I'm never coming back here. But I think this might be it for me. And if that's the case, like again, you can find me on Blue Sky and Twitter. I'm not going away. And I'm not leaving. I'm just moving on, I think. And a week from now, 2 weeks from now, something cool will show up and I'll be like, I gotta shoot a video of this, and maybe that'll happen. But more so than any other time I've done this, I think this is it. So thank you for 17 years of watching and having fun and enjoying these. I'm sorry I'm getting a little long-winded here. And I'm sorry if this was not perfect. I know there were probably shots of this that were off camera, but you know what? True to form, let's go back to where we started. Full circle. Even though this was not the first video review I shot, it was Animated Ratchet. It was the first video I posted back in March of 2008. But yeah. Now that I'm saying it out loud, now I'm waffling. I don't know. But I think this is probably my last big hurrah. I'm okay with that. Anyway, as always, stay safe. Take it easy. Please be good in your life. Be careful. Be true to yourself. Don't let some of these idiots take you down. Whatever your opinions or creed are, just be kind to each other. Find your happiness. Be happy. Take care of each other. Look out for each other. It's getting more melancholy than I intended, and it's really not intended to be. And like I said, a week from now, something's going to show up on my doorstep and be like, I'm going to shoot a video of this, and I'm going to be back, and it's going to be like, whatever. I don't know. But yeah. Thanks for watching. If this is it, thanks for watching. I appreciate it all these years. And I hope you all are doing well. I think that's it.